James Harden has a superpower. And no, I'm not talking about him being able to fluctuate 20 pounds overnight, although that's impressive. No, Harden's unique ability is much more powerful than that. And he's used it to become one of the greatest point guards we've ever seen. It's one thing to have the blend of talent and athleticism it requires to be an NBA player, but to be a great point guard is a whole other beast. A great point guard is creative, confident, and above all, controlling. Which might not be the first word that comes to mind when you think about point guards. The role typically involves setting up other players and trusting them to finish a play. What if I told you that the free will of the play finisher was just an illusion? Because the decision he is about to make was already set in motion before the ball touched his hands. And it was decided by him. Because James Harden is always 2 steps ahead. James Harden is one of the greatest point guards of all time. He is 9th in total points, 12th in total assists, and has made an All-NBA team 8 times. His individual accolades speak for themselves, and he is easily one of the top 10 most dominant players of the last decade. But there's something different about Harden compared to his peers. His dominance cannot be attributed to outlier athleticism or physical traits. He's not the biggest, nor the fastest, or the strongest. But the competitive advantage he has is in between the ears. Of course, he still possesses ridiculous levels of skill, most notably his handle and his footwork, but his edge comes down to him being a basketball genius. His ability to map the half-court and read defenses allows him to maintain an authoritarian-like grip on every game he plays in. When Harden is on, he is in control. Harden said it best. He's not a system player, he is the system. He's one of the few players that bends defenses with patience, not speed. He'll dribble the air out of the ball, wait for a help defender to blink, and that's when the pass comes. Pocket passes through traffic, perfectly placed lobs to bigs, and cross-court lasers to shooters who haven't even finished relocating yet. What makes Harden special is manipulation. He reads defenders like a poker player. He knows who's scared to foul, who's late on rotations, and who's about to overhelp. Every move is a setup, and every hesitation is bait. Put shooters next to him, and he manufactures elite offenses. Put a rim runner next to him, and suddenly that guy is having a career year. Clint Capella, Dwight Howard, Nick Claxton, even Joel Embiid's easiest touches came off of Harden's brilliant timing. His playmaking works because he understands gravity better than almost anyone of his era. Defenses don't just guard him, they orbit him. 2 on the ball feels normal, 3 isn't rare. And Harden knows exactly how much attention he's pulling before a trap even arrives. He does this by weaponizing pace. He'll walk the ball up, lull everyone to sleep with his dribble, and then hit a sudden burst to force a rotation. Once the defense shifts, the play is already over. Someone is open, and Harden just has to decide who's going to score. And his passing isn't just flashy for the sake of it, it's surgical. His no-look feeds aren't just for style, but rather for misdirection, because looking would probably tip his hand. He knows exactly where everyone is on the court, and better yet, where everyone is about to be. And the numbers back it up. Harden didn't just rack up assists by accident, he's 12th all-time in assists because entire offenses were built around his reads. Houston, Brooklyn, Philly, different teammates, same result. Easy buckets, efficient shots, and elite offenses. That's why Harden ages well. Even when the burst fades, the vision doesn't. As long as he can see the floor, he will always be dangerous because his court mapping is only getting better with age. He's one of just 24 players ever to have a career assist percentage over 30 and has had 5 seasons where he's exceeded 40%. Essentially, this means when James Harden is on the floor, nearly a third of his teammates' assisted points come from Harden passes. He's one of the select few who cannot be sped up nor slowed down, which allows him to take over the outcome of a game like few others. Even in the late stages of his career, Harden still has the ability to take over, and when he does, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And his ability to control situations to force the outcome he desires doesn't just end at the final buzzer.
But this is what James Harden is doing. He's trying to force his way out of Houston. He does not want to be there.
Hannah, I'm told that James Harden wants a trade to the Philadelphia 76ers.
He is very upset. He continues to be very frustrated. You have to find a trade that works because you can't bring him back in the locker room knowing that he don't want to be there.
LA Clippers and 11-time All-Star James Harden are working through whether they can find a trade for Harden out of LA by Thursday's NBA trade deadline.
They say a rolling stone gathers no moss. And man, has James Harden been rolling. Over the last 5 years, Harden has been on 5 teams, most recently being traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And each time, he has orchestrated his own exit. In Houston, after 8 long years of carrying the franchise, Harden recognized a sinking ship and wanted no part of it, declaring the situation crazy and saying it can't be fixed. Shortly after the trade demand, he was moved to Brooklyn, and the Rockets went on a tank and won less than 25 games for each of the next 3 seasons. In Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving's off-court troubles and Kevin Durant's injuries quickly derailed the super team they were trying to build, and Harden was left to carry a heavier burden than expected and often played through injuries. He soon recognized that the situation was doomed and pushed for a move to Philadelphia to team up with another superstar, while the Nets eventually pivoted into a rebuild. In Philly, Harden took a pay cut to help the 76ers contend with the promise of a future long-term deal. When GM Daryl Morey didn't honor that promise, Harden went nuclear.
The NBA is fining Sixers star James Harden $100,000 for his recent comments referring to franchise president Daryl Morey as a liar.
He felt betrayed, and once the trust was gone, he wanted no part of the 76ers organization. In the wake of Harden's chaotic exit, his former co-stars suffered repeated injuries, and the team went on to have consecutive losing seasons. And now, his surprising exit from the Clippers, which is much more amicable and didn't require any antics from Harden to make it happen. Instead, Harden made a judgment on what the ceiling was of this Clippers roster. To the general public, the Clippers looked like they were finally putting it all together. They were climbing up the standings, winning 15 of their last 20. But Harden thought otherwise, and angled towards a situation in the Eastern Conference that he thought would be more fruitful. Harden refuses to stay in any situation that doesn't serve him. And here is where that on-court clairvoyance really comes into play. Similar to how he reads defenses and predicts developing plays, Harden sees 2 steps ahead for the direction of the team he is on, and if he doesn't like what he sees, he's out of there. This has drawn immense criticism from the public, and Harden has developed a reputation of being a flight risk, someone who leaves at the first sign of hardship and is never truly satisfied. In a league where loyalty is celebrated, even if it's to the player's detriment, Harden doesn't fit the mold, and considering the tactics he has deployed to get what he wants, a lot of the criticism is warranted. But Harden doesn't seem to care. Outside perspectives on his decisions have never held much weight. Harden has spent his career as a decision maker, trusted to assess situations and make the right call for his team to succeed. Most people can't fathom the pressure and responsibility that comes with such a role. The mental fortitude it takes to trust your decision making to that extent is inexplicable. And few people will ever understand the level of radical self-confidence it requires to be an NBA point guard. On every team, everyone has a role, and for point guards, the role is often to be the guy, and you can't be that if you don't truly believe that you know what's best. So Harden shutting out the noise and trusting his gut over outside opinions makes total sense in context. His career decisions have been misconstrued as malicious and malcontent, but ultimately, he's looking out for himself and fighting to maintain control over his career. And when you consider the motivations of his decisions, it starts to make more sense. There are very few things that are out of James Harden's control. Whether on the court or in his career decisions, he has been able to remain in the driver's seat. But there's one thing he can't control. Father Time is undefeated. It's a hard truth that every person must accept. For most of us, that acceptance comes later on in our lives, but for professional athletes, the wheels of time are on overdrive. The average retirement age of NBA stars is about 35 years old, and with advancements in sports science, the timeline is getting longer, but it's still not long enough for some players. Every player's dream is to win a championship, and some are fortunate enough to cross off that milestone early in their careers, but others reach the twilight of their NBA journey empty-handed. And that's the position James Harden is trying so desperately to avoid. End-of-career ring chasing is portrayed as undignified and embarrassing by the general public. The late career decisions of legends like Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook are often depicted as desperate attempts to attach themselves to a contender just to check off that box. And Harden's not there yet. He is 36 years old and still performing at an all-star level as a main contributor. But that doesn't mean that the threat of retiring ringless hasn't crossed his mind. In fact, it's a convenient explanation as to why he refuses to settle in situations that aren't ideal. Harden doesn't have the luxury of waiting out bad situations. At this stage of his career, every season counts. That's why patience wears thin when roles shrink or systems change or front offices make mistakes. When situations feel uncertain or misaligned, it's not just impatience, it's self-awareness. At this stage, wasted seasons hurt more because Harden is racing against the clock. He understands his window is narrowing, and he is choosing environments that value clarity over chaos. Just like how he analyzes and predicts game situations to control the outcome, Harden is trusting his gut. And when you look at the Western Conference compared to the Eastern Conference, you can understand what Harden likely already figured out 2 months ago. A career of reading and anticipating opponents has empowered Harden to recognize when he needs to impose his will to catalyze a different future. Harden is staring down Father Time and predicting his next move, because the one thing he can't control is the passage of time, but he can control his response to it. Time will tell if this strategy works out in the long run, but at least for now, it appears Harden has positioned himself closer to reaching his goal. What happens next in his career is a mystery to everyone but him, and I'm sure he's already formulating a contingency plan for life after the Cavs. Because like a true point guard, Harden is always 2 steps ahead.